Today we're going to be using Google Forms to survey a group of people. Before we actually send out a survey to a new group of people, we're going to want to talk about two important terms, samples and populations. A population is all the members of a data set or group. That's everybody. Now, it doesn't have to be everyone in the world, but if we're talking about like our school, the population could be everyone at the school. That could be the school population. Now, a sample is only a few members of a population, so a group within that, total population. So not everyone, just a few of them. Now, better than just a sample, we're going to be looking at a random sample. And a random sample is a subgroup of the population, so smaller than the population, and it contains roughly the same variety as the population. So what does that mean? If we're looking at the population of, let's say, the school, and let's say it's a middle school, and so our school has students in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. Great. So if we were going to give out a survey to just a sample of students, we wouldn't want to give the survey to only 6th graders because that's not a good random sample. We didn't include the same variety as the population of our school. We'd want to include some of each grade. We might also want to include boys or girls, people who play on a sports team, people who play an instrument, all kinds of different groups, depending on what we're looking at. If you think it's important that we get people from all kinds of different types in our questions that we're asking. So we want to have roughly the same variety as the population when we pick our random sample. Go ahead and actually create a survey using a Google form. All right, so the first thing we're going to go is into our class folder, Applying Apps, and we'll go to New, and we'll do a new Google form. Yes, we want to create and share. This folder is being shared, so everything we make inside it is being shared as well. All right, so first thing we always do is we give it a name. So I'm going to call this 2.1, because that's the lesson number. That'll keep things organized. I'm going to call this Get to Know Your Class. Great. That's the file name up here. Do I still want it to be the title of the form? Maybe I'm going to get rid of just the 2.1, make it a little bit more friendly to people we send it out to. Okay, so we're now going to try to make a variety of different question types. All right, so the first question that's usually helpful to ask people is, what is your name? Sometimes you might even see that they don't even write it as a question, it just says first name, and obviously it's expected that you would type that in there. Now this is a question I definitely want everyone to answer. If they don't answer it, then I'm really left with data that I can't do as much with. So I'm going to click this toggle here, which turns it to a required question. So they can't skip this question now. Okay, one question. Google was smart. They made it a short answer for us automatically. That's wonderful. Let's start adding some other question types. So over here we see these tools that we can use to add things. One of the probably most common tools is going to be the plus sign because that's add a question. So when we click that, another question appears. Okay, this time let's ask a multiple choice question. I'm going to ask that when you do this yourself, maybe pick your own multiple choice question. If you want to follow along with me this time, fine, but maybe think about some other kinds of questions. So let's think about a question that we could ask people that might be multiple choice. They don't need infinite number of answers to be able to respond. So I might say, what grade are you in? Great. Now look, Google actually comes up with some suggestions. Now, these would be great if we were in high school, but I'm showing this for a middle school class. So I'm going to hit 6, enter, 7, enter, 8. If you wanted to add other, you can, but I'm going to keep it so that they only have these 3 choices. Terrific. We made a multiple choice question. We'll show you what that looks like from the other side here in a second. The next type of question I want to add, so I'm going to click my add question, is a question with checkboxes. You're like, how does that differ? Well, for our multiple choice question, you can't choose more than one. You had to pick a grade. And that makes sense for that question because you can't really be in 2 grades. But now I'm going to ask a question, and I'm going to look for something to get to know my classmates here. So I might ask something like, what kinds of pets do you own? All right. People might own a dog, But they might also own a cat, so this would allow them a couple options. Do they own hamsters, fish? I had a friend who had a chinchilla. Chinchilla? No, I shouldn't even try to spell that. But let's say we don't even want to try to account for all the variety of things. So if you have one you don't want, you can click the X and get rid of it. But you want to allow people to add in another option. You can click this other, and it just says other there. It'll allow other people to type in an answer if they have one there. So this is a checkbox because they can click more than one option. Terrific. All right, let's add a new question. This time, I'm going to go with a linear scale. So a linear scale is where you get people to score it. It almost be like, how many stars would you give this restaurant? And you can rank how much you like something. Let's say for this question for a linear scale, I'm just going to write a statement. I'm going to say rap is my favorite type of music. May or may not be. But now I'm going to say the label options for one might be strongly disagree. And label 5 might be strongly agree. So now people, if they really think rap's their favorite, they give it a 5. If it's not, they can give it a strongly disagree. So that is a linear scale question. Let's add a new, and so there, once you hit it, now you can see it actually looks a little bit more reasonable. So they can click an answer from 1 to 5. You could change the scale if you wanted to make it 1 to 10. You can make it further range of values, and now they have more ways to respond. Okay, for our next type of question, we're going to go back to our short answer type. And I'm going to ask, how many siblings do you have? Now, I want people to just give me a number as an answer. I don't want them to type out 1 or, type out the number or, give me a whole paragraph explaining how many siblings they have. I just want a number. So over here is 3 dots. I like to call the 3 dots up and down the snowman. So I'm going to click on the snowman, and I'm going to go to response validation. So now, in this first thing, right now it's already on number, but we could tell it that the way that people responded would have to be a number, would have to be text. We could say it has to be only this long. We can use a regular expression, to be honest. Okay, so it would contain something inside of it. Interesting. Okay, but I'm going to use a number, and I might say that the number is a number. That's all I want to do. I just want to make it a number. You could say the number has to be greater than something, or it has to be a whole number. Maybe I could put even a whole number. That would even probably be better, because I don't want them to give me 1.2. That wouldn't be sensible, unless maybe they're counting a sibling on the way or something like that. But okay, so now we've got a question where people will have to respond with a number. Awesome. Let's add another question, and I might just want to know something about, people, and it's not really I can give them the choices very much. They just kind of have to share something with me. So I might say, what was your favorite place that you have ever traveled to? Okay, multiple choice does not make sense. I'm going to give this a paragraph. And so they can give me a little explanation for what they want to tell me about their favorite place they traveled to. Great. I'm actually going to toss in one more type here. This is probably the most complicated, and you don't often have to use this, but we're going to go with a question type that is a multiple choice grid. Okay, so this is good for when you want people to put things in order from least to greatest of what they like the most. So I could say, rank your favorite ice cream flavors. Okay, so on the rows, I might say vanilla, and then I might say chocolate, cookies and cream, cookie dough, moose tracks. Oh, moose tracks, so good. Okay, and now on the columns is kind of how I would want them to be ranked, like first, and then second, And I might add, one for each of these, third, fourth, and fifth. Okay, so because there's 5 choices over there, now they can put them in order first through fifth. And if you don't want people to give you a tie, you can go and say limit 1 response per column. And you can make everyone give you an answer per row by clicking this. All right, so when I click away from it, you'll now kind of see more of what it looks like. Oh, okay, so now people could put their first, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way through and rank their favorite flavors of ice cream. Terrific. Okay, we have made a whole bunch of different question types. I'm going to go up here to the very top again, and there's this semi-creepy looking eye here. It's staring at us. That is the preview button. And so if you want to make sure it looks nice for others, you can click the preview button, bum, opens in a new tab, and this is what it'll look like for somebody else who goes through and answers your survey. And you can kind of play around with what it's like to check some of the answers. Hamster. No, I have a dog and a cat. All right. We can also see that on the question about numbers of siblings, if we type in like 1, it yells at us. It says must be a whole number. And I can type in 3, but if I type 3.4, that doesn't work either. Okay. So we can also see for this, if we click this, it's already telling us it needs 1 answer per row. Wait, I'm going to Moose Tracks is definitely on the top. Then probably cookies and cream. And it says, please don't select more than 1 response per column, which I have right now. So vanilla is probably going to be 4. Chocolate, 5. Cookie dough, 3. And now the error message went away. I've ranked my ice cream flavors. And then we could submit it if we were ready to. But we can just close that out, and we are going to go back. Yeah, we're going to leave. We don't care about those answers. Back to our survey here. I saw them there. Okay, so you can see that there's like groups that it already recognized, and so I think it takes Google a little bit of time to process that to make that available for you here. But at least you can type individual people's names here to send it to them a little bit more quickly. Now, before we send it out, we want to change the message we're going to send to people. So maybe our subject is going to be, help me get to know you. And then you can say, your message can be, please fill out this survey so that I can know more about you. Terrific. And then we can go ahead and click send when we are ready to go. Now, once you have sent that out, you can access it. You can get other survey responses from your Gmail account. And then hopefully once people start filling them out, you'll have some responses. To see the responses that other people have given you to your survey, from your survey page here, from your form page here, instead of being on the questions tab here at the top, we'll click over to responses. And so we can first just see the responses here. And we're on the summary, so it would show you all the different names of the people who responded. It would give you a pie chart of what grade they're in. So right now, only 1 response, and they were in 7th grade, so that's everyone. You'll see how many responses of the different kinds of animals, the rap music, siblings, favorite places, and a rank of the flavors of ice cream. Now, we can also go in the question format where we kind of just cycle through each question, or we can look at one individual, and that'll look a little bit more interesting once we actually have multiple people. But let's say this is still not terribly helpful to you. You really want to be able to look at the data or do something with all this data. Up here is a green icon. It's the Google Sheets icon. So if we click this, it'll say the first option, create a new spreadsheet. We almost always want to create a new spreadsheet. And it'll give the spreadsheet basically the same name as your form, except that it'll put responses in parentheses at the end. So we're just going to go ahead and accept it just like they had and click create. And dun 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 dun. Here it comes. Here is the responses that we've had from the survey. So the survey was completed at 8:25 on 2021 at 10:35 a.m. And we have the answers to all the questions. Now, one thing I always like to do is the questions sometimes they don't fit in that box. So if I highlight this row, if we go up to some of these options right here, it looks like an arrow is going through a line right now, that means like the text would try to keep going on and on. Well, I want the text to wrap. And if I do that, it made that box a little taller, and now we can see those questions a little bit better. So we also have our survey data here. Well, now that you followed along with me as I made a survey, I want you to make a survey with your own questions, things that you actually care about. You might not care about pets or rap music or siblings. Ask some questions of your classmates, share it with other people, get some responses. Try not to ask anything that's going to put somebody in an awkward position or make them feel uncomfortable. We want to just get to know people friendly, think about the same questions that you'd ask somebody if you were actually talking to them. Talking to people is still nice, even if we can ask them questions on a really fancy Google form. All right, thanks so much for joining me. See you again next time.